Getting ready for a walk and talk. We got our air hooked up, nice and charged. We'll go ahead and get that situated. If you're walking with me, this is day 2. Make sure you've got your oxygen on if you need it. If you're just following along, we appreciate that. Once again, Driftwood here, great warm builds. And this is our 30-minute walk and talk where we're going to do a couple laps around the track and morning. So let's get this thing started. And it's a little outside, so don't mind that too much. Make sure we got the volume up all the way. Get this thing going here. It's always interesting walking around with this like in front of me so you guys can see me and chat with me while I'm walking. I can tell you I never thought I would be doing this. It's not something I ever thought I'd be doing, but when in Rome, right? So once again, we've got our portable oxygen condenser. They gave me, I suffer from chronic hypoxia, mild diastolic heart failure, asthma, chronic asthma, occupational asthma, COPD, I have heart valve issues, and we are trying to get the body back in some sort of shape. And it's always interesting walking around with your YouTube stick out in front of you. But that's what we're doing. Sunny and live here in wonderful Milton Freewater, Oregon. You know, so right on. If you haven't tuned in or you're too busy, happy Friday for all of you that are out there working and maybe jumped in or just see us here. I'm Driftwood. This is Great Horn Builds. Today we're going to be picking up the pace a little bit just because we need to. So every day, if you're new here or you're just watching this, every day at 11 a.m. we go live and we do a walk and talk where we chat and I take breaks and then I go into the comments and answer questions and chat with people. I actually got some really interesting comments yesterday. One in particular from a gentleman in the UK. Hey there, if you're tuning in, hopefully your day is going a little better. The struggle is real. There is no doubt about that. Whew. We are on a pace for records today, that's for sure. The struggle is definitely real. You know, having your life totally screwed up by health issues, at least for me, and I'm only going to talk about myself. And once again, I'm not a professional. I don't have any degrees in psychology or counseling. I'm not NASM certified for any sort of working out. I just don't have those degrees, although I have partaken in NASM training for friends of mine being on the other side, so I had to learn the book. But that's not what this is about. This is only me going on a walk, chatting with people. Hopefully people are doing good today. So back to our gentleman friend that chimed in yesterday from the UK. I hope you're doing better today. I know personally from my experience after my injury, it affected me upstairs real bad. I suffered from serious PTSD and it hit like that. I mean, it was literally one day I'm out running and then when it hit, it's like my world turned upside down. I remember right after my injury, and we'll say like after my injury, so probably 2 days after my injury, I was still struggling to catch my breath because it was an inhalation injury, hence the breathing machine. I remember being so confused because just, 2 days before I had been on a 6-mile run around this loop out on Woodby Island where I was living, and that was my regular running loop, which is 6 miles every day. So to go from that, having a universal gym in my bedroom, and working out every day to not even be able to walk to the door without getting dizzy for lack of oxygen, and not just lack of oxygen. When I was up in this attic from hell at the house from hell, I was so sick from all the fumes that we were throwing up and getting sick, gasping for breath. So, dealing with that and the intrusive thoughts that happened and the disassociation that happened, and then dealing with that for years and years and years, because unfortunately when you're dealing with labor and industry, you're directly going to those doctors only. So if you have an experience dealing with labor and industry, you probably already know this. That guy's real loud. But let's say it again, if you ever have an experience dealing with labor and industry, you probably already know that you're stuck with their doctors. And their prerogative is to get you back to work as fast as possible by any means possible. And they don't care if you're healthy, they don't care if you're ready to go back to work. They just want to sign you off and send you back. So literally they were denying me over and over and over. Even though I was at the doctor's, my oxygen was tanking, I'd have to pivot my head just to breathe. My throat was so swollen and burned from all the chemicals. They actually diagnosed me incorrectly with my first hospital visit or ER visit after the injury. Diagnosed me after seeing copious amounts of pustules, so big old filled sacks of fluid in my neck that looked like this, just big old white and red pustules. They incorrectly diagnosed me the first time. And amazingly enough, they never submitted that paperwork. So we finally got that submitted to LNI after 5 years, which is probably one of the things they were trying to hold out. And unfortunately, dealing with LNI has just been a freaking nightmare. They did take care of me for about 4 years, and even though I was still having massive psychological issues, and when I say massive psychological issues, about half of the day I would be in full-blown PTSD, anxiety, over the top, completely out of my mind mode. And if you suffer from PTSD, you know what I'm talking about. The full gamut of things that can happen on PTSD. That's what I was dealing with. So anyways, that's kind of a little bit of my backstory. I like throwing that in there every day when we get on here. It gives a little perspective for people that might be tuning in. That way, maybe you can relate. Maybe you've had a work injury and it's put you out of work, and maybe somebody else out there will watch this and be like, God, I've been in that position, where you've been injured and it just screws with you so bad it messes with your head. Because it did with me. And I know just one of the gentlemen from the UK that I tuned in here had mentioned something like that, and really what he's going through is a hard time. So brother, if you're watching this, just take it easy on yourself, give yourself a little slack, man. It is a hard thing to deal with the mental. Like I say when my videos when I'm talking about this, before my injury, it was one of those things where I just thought you had to tough it out. That's how I was raised. You just, you zip up your big boy britches, you get out there and you push through it, and that's how you deal with life, when things get tough. Unfortunately, this wasn't one of those things for me, so I understand where you're coming from. Having a heart attack in your 30s, bro, that's tough. Just give yourself a break, For me, I had to find a way to do the best I can every day. And a lot of the times, and most of the time, that was just holding on to just the smallest amount and smallest resemblance of who I was every single day. And some days I couldn't even do it. It was tough. So we're here at the track, getting ready to do our laps. Let's go. and give you all a view of the track. Ooh, yeah, there we go. We're ready to rock and roll. So let's go ahead and get this lap started. We're going to go into lane number 7 today, guys. I'll take a break on the second round to chat with people, but yeah, we'll just chitter it up. So we're in lane 7, second lane to the outside, and we're gonna pump out our 4 laps today on oxygen. Now, if you're tuning in, um, this conversation is just open for whatever. I'm just telling my story about what put me in this health position that I'm in, and what I'm doing today to hopefully make my life a little better. And giving people a chance to see that, you're not alone out there. If you're fighting through health issues, you're not alone. I deal with this stuff every day. I deal with it all night long. And, I feel blessed that I even have a tomorrow. I feel blessed that I even have a next minute most days. When I'm not fighting off the throw in the towel bug. That's for you out there, UK. Because that's the way it was for me for a long time. And even still, some days I wake up and it's just tough. Some days my body, and this is more days than not, my body just doesn't want to do what I want it to do anymore. I don't have the energy, where my oxygen is just in continuous tank mode. It's that chronic hypoxia. And lately I've been pushing through it. My brain is telling me, no, you can't do this. You're gonna get hurt. Something's gonna go wrong because of what happened to me on the job site. It tells me that every single day, all day long. Don't do this, be scared, be terrified. I've got to hold on to that little shred and remember who I was before my injury. And that's what I've been doing to get through this. It's just holding on to that little shred, reminding myself that that's all BS. That's a lie. That going for a walk outside isn't going to kill me. That, getting up and working out or eating healthy or doing something around the house isn't going to kill me. It's not going to be a travesty. I've got to remind myself that these are the things that actually make me healthy. So when my brain is acting up from the PTSD, the depression, the list of other things that have gone wrong with my head since a stupid injury, and I call it a stupid injury because it is a stupid injury. I made a bad decision, and put my trust in somebody I shouldn't have. And really just made a bad decision on myself. It's me. I made a bad decision. Should never have done the job. Should have walked away, and I didn't. And now I'm suffering the consequences. And we're fighting so that I actually can have a life without putting all the burden on my wife. But today is the walk day. So we are on lane 7, walking around. Hope everybody's doing okay. We are going to be working out this afternoon. We're going to get our 4 laps in, and if all goes well, we're going to be heading back to the house. I actually cleaned up the workout area. So if you've seen my other videos, I kind of had this makeshift workout area at the home, out by my garage. It's got a bench press. It's got a leg workout area. It's one of them cheapy, like $300 weight benches where the back seat tilts up and down. I don't know if you've probably seen those, the cheapy ones with the lay down seat for the bench press tilts up and down, and then you've got a seat and the little leg thing for your quads and your handies. You can work those out. Yeah, so we've got one of those. And then we've got a couple 100 pounds of weight, or actually I shouldn't say a couple 100 pounds, a little bit over 100 pounds weight, which at almost 50 years old, that is plenty for me. I'm not trying to break any records or set any records on working out and using heavy weights. We're just not doing that these days. This is all about building our endurance, getting back some of that muscle we lost over the last 5 years. We lost a lot of muscle, and we lost probably, it feels most days, like 88% of my endurance. I mean, I struggle to walk a mile these days, and I was running 6 miles before, so you do the math. It's a big difference. You know, it's a beautiful day out today, though, right? I mean, look, got blue skies everywhere. Blue skies, the sun is out. It's about 82 degrees right now. I mean, could it get any nicer than this, right? Maybe a little trip to the river. A little trip to the river would be nice, right? We're going to be doing that tomorrow. My wife insisted that we make a trip to the river. So we are going to be going to the river tomorrow. I'm going to head out to the Walla Walla, and we've got a particular place we go every season this time of year. And we just go hang out at the river, relax, hang out, maybe do a little fishing. By the way, how many of you that watch this, how many of you fish? You guys do any fishing out there? And if so, what is the biggest fish you've ever caught? I love fishing. Huge fisher fan. I've got rods. I don't have poles. True fishers, you know what I'm talking about. My favorite rod is my ugly stick with the Shimano reel. That thing is a beast. I love it. It was actually a donation rod and reel from one of my best buddies, ex-old ladies. So her dad was a huge fisherman, lived out on Whidbey Island. When he passed away, he had, I don't know, like 30 rods, and these were all just really good rods, ugly sticks with like $200-300 reels on them. Not the very, very top end, but they definitely weren't the bottom of the line. And all I had was a couple good freshwater rods, a couple of trolling rods. I didn't have anything for salmon fishing, and I love salmon fishing, especially out on Whidbey Island, because it's right there on the strait. So the Puget Sound area over in Washington, United States, Washington. Anyway, she donated it to me for my birthday. So she gave me this like $300 setup, and I'm not joking. That rod and reel setup has slain more fish than I can even put numbers to. I've got pictures where over like a 3-day period, my whole kitchen is just full of salmon. I mean, just like shooting fish in a barrel with that thing, especially out on Bush Point. If you're looking for a great fishing spot, Bush Point is the place. Take my word for it, anywhere from the beginning of August to the beginning of September and even the end of July, that is where you want to be. Bush Point, Whidbey Island. I mean, I've never been to Alaska fishing. I don't know, maybe somebody on here has been to Alaska, but I got to tell you, I've always dreamed of going to Alaska and going fishing for the big ones. I always wanted to catch like a 50-pound king just right off the shore and reel that thing in, that monster fight for like an hour and a half. Not that I could do that these days. I mean, even holding this pole, we'll call it a pole, this rod, or my selfie stick, that gets a little tiring. So not that it'd be like that, it'd be like this, right, for all those fisher people out there. But all right, so we're coming up on, this is lap 2, right guys? So we'll take a little break here, and I think on laps 3 and 4 we're gonna pick up the pace. We're gonna do the best we can. So looks like we're down to, I love this thing. So this thing lasts about 4 hours. Really good. So we're still at about 85%, which is pretty good. This thing has given me so much freedom. I don't know if you're watching this and you're on oxygen, what was it like when you finally got oxygen? Did it give freedom, or when you got a portable oxygen tank? For me, I was stuck on an air condenser after my injury, and it was because they had diagnosed me with nocturnal hypoxemia. It looks like it's glitching a little bit, so we're going to slow down. Sorry. Oh, there we go. So they had originally diagnosed me with nocturnal hypoxemia. They gave me the overnight test, and I had 54 drops over an 8-hour period of night. So they put me on oxygen within like a day. So I had a concentrator, the big blue one. And then I would end up using that thing during the day, because every time I would go in and get my oxygen tested, or they wouldn't test it because it was LNI, my oxygen would be fine, or not fine, but like 92 to 95, which isn't low enough for them to supposedly administer an oxygen tank. It just wouldn't drop when I was at their 30-minute meeting. It would be fine during that 30 minutes. And then, I'd leave, and within 15 minutes it would drop, or whatever. Or it would drop right before I got there. Or even several times it dropped when I was there, and then they would just wait for my oxygen to come back up and then write that in the charts. Even though I'd be like an 82, and then it would take 3 minutes for my oxygen to hit the 90s before they'd write it down because it's crooked. But, apparently that's the way it goes. But we're fighting back. And we're trying to bring some awareness to the system, because it's broken. When you've got doctors that are so scared of labor and industry that they're willing to put fraudulent documentation into people's stuff, that's just wrong. People need to know about this, and something needs to be done. We pay into labor and industry here in the United States, and in Washington, Oregon. We have to pay into it. It's mandatory. It's part of working. So if we have to pay into it, we should be afforded the right to that care and coverage when we're injured, right? That's not how it is. They seem to think that they should be able to pick and choose which injuries are taken care of, and then lie and deny or threaten the doctors, which is what it seems like. The doctors just felt threatened. We literally had a doctor tell me they couldn't write it in there because they get in trouble from LNI. I mean, they literally were refusing to do the test because they were scared that LNI would not send them patients. I mean, it makes sense, right? Because LNI is paying the doctors to do the stuff. So obviously the doctors are going to be doing stuff on behalf of LNI, like not writing some things into the doctor's report. Anyways, so back to the oxygen thing, because I will go on a freaking tangent about that. Still so upset about it. And we are fighting. I've got a decent attorney, I think. And we're getting close to the end of the whole deal. They tried to settle me out with literally no disability, even though I'm on a breathing machine. They thought that they could just push off the fact that I was complaining that I wasn't being able to breathe, and the documentation was there and there was proof. They thought they could just throw all that away and somehow I would just give up and go away, but that's not happening. I'm fighting this thing tooth and nail, because if I had to pay into LNI for the purpose of the possibility of me being injured or permanently disabled because of a work injury, then that's why we're fighting. So the oxygen thing, how has your life changed since you've been on oxygen? For me, I was dizzy all the time. After my injury, I'd get these dizzy spells, and they said it was PTSD, but they wouldn't write it up as PTSD, so it had to be the depression, according to LNI. But then I go see a regular doctor that's not attached to labor and industry, and those doctors would be like, let's take some tests, and they'd be like, well, it could just be PTSD. It could be having, just psychotic episodes. Maybe you're not really, oxygen's not really dropping. I mean, they literally tried to play that card. So just beware. Dirtbags, in my opinion, in my experience. But finally, I ended up with the doctor, which is terrible because I had to tell the doctor that the whole thing was closed and I wasn't planning on fighting it, which I wasn't planning on fighting anymore. I had just assumed that we were going to lose, and then I knew my oxygen was tanking. I've got an O2 meter. I've been checking it for 5 years, recording it, videoing it when my oxygen's dropping, so I could show the doctor so that they believe me, because I didn't want to suffocate to death. Shit's terrifying. I would think the only other thing that's probably worse than suffocating to death is probably burning or drowning. Um, it is not fun. So anyways, having all these videos documenting, I know what's going on. The whole time they're trying to just ignore it or tell me it's in my head, that it's not really happening. Not willing to run the test. So anyways, finally, after everything seems to be closed up and the time and clock is running out before I can file, I think we're down to like the last 6 months or something like that. I finally end up at a doctor's and I tell him what's going on with me. He gives me a walk test and the oxygen just tanks right there. So it's progressed so bad over the last 5 years without treatment that now my oxygen tanks several times an hour for anywhere from 30 seconds to 45 minutes or even longer. It's just so random. The oxygen tanks. And he's like, holy crap. So he writes me a thing for air tanks, because I tell him, you know, hey, I've been using my concentrator to supplement my air during the day. So instead of being able to walk around and do things and having good, adequate oxygen supply like I do now, you know, I'm having to use this home giant air concentrator. And anytime I want to go somewhere, I've got to drag around this massive machine that's like almost 3 foot tall, you know, by 16 inches deep and, you know, 20 inches wide. It weighs like, you know, 60 pounds. I got to drag this thing around everywhere just to have adequate oxygen. And then plug that thing in during the day. So like mobility was out of the question. Camping, all the things I used to do were out of the question unless I wanted to suffer through these oxygen drops and the headaches that happen when it goes down and the dizziness that happens when the oxygen tanks, the memory loss that happens from consistently having lack of oxygen. And maybe you can relate. If you have oxygen issues, do you suffer from memory problems? For me, it was horrible. I mean, it was horrible. It's getting a little bit better now that I'm getting regular oxygen on me, but holy cow. Like, I'm sitting there telling people I can't remember anything. They think I'm just crazy. But, yeah. No bueno stuff, man. It was no good. Okay, so we are on lap 3. Going into lap 4. Holy smokes. We'll take a break over here on the bleachers and chat it up with anybody who's on there. Ooh, I see we got at least one person. Good for them. Anyways, we are going to the river tomorrow. And I am really excited. You know, this will be the first time I've been able to go to the river with oxygen, which is huge. Because it is no joke. Just without the oxygen, I'm lethargic. My memory's bad. I get shaky. I get injured. All sorts of stuff. And I mean, it's still not great with it on, but way better. At least the simple things like going for a walk I can do now. You know, and some stuff around the house. But yeah, I think we'll actually, let's walk up the stairs here, guys. Oh, yeah. We are rocking and rolling, guys. All right, let's see what we got. Oh, let's see who's on here. Anybody? All right, guys. So it looks like changing weather. From Denver. What's up, Denver? How's it going? All 9 people. How's everybody doing? Okay, so we are walking around the track. I'm on oxygen. We are getting back in shape. Trying to get back in shape. I am a rocking 282 pounds, 6 foot tall, and we just don't like it. We don't want it anymore. We want to extend our life. The doctor said if I want to extend my life anywhere past a couple of years, I need to get back in shape. So we're going to do everything we can, and that's what we're doing. All right, let's go ahead and get back at it. We got one more lap to do, guys. rock and rolling, but to the river fishing this weekend. They finally opened up the river for fishing, so I'm pretty excited about that. That'll be awesome. I'm really trying to get used to the selfie stick thing. You can see it right there. I think most people try to keep the selfie stick out, so they'll probably go like, whoa, hey, check it out, man. Look at all that fat right there. I got love handles, like huge love handles. We're getting rid of these things. We got one more lap to do. So how many of you out there work out? Yeah, you guys work out? I work out. We're doing it today. Today is arm day. So we've got our arm day, we've got a chest day, we've got a back day, and that's pretty much, sorry, no. We actually are doing something different. We used to do that. That's my old workout regimen when I could do it. So we have an upper body day, we have a lower body day, and we rotate back and forth, and then every day we walk. That is the new goal. We've been doing it for 10 days. It's pretty freaking awesome. I'm sweating my brains out right now. Whew. But we are on day, I want to say day 12? Day 12 doing this. Day 2 going live. Sorry, it's breaking up a little bit. We'll chill for a minute. Yeah. Sorry about that, guys. I know it gets a little glitchy out here in Eastern Oregon. And how many of you have visited Eastern Oregon? Or how about just Walla Walla, Washington? Because I'm just down from Walla Walla, which apparently is like Napa Valley now. It is like the wine place to be. I know when we got our house out here, just a little history on why I live in here, and I'm actually from Washington, Pacific Northwest, but about, let's say 2017, I had 10 acres up north by the was to build a cabin up there and then build a house and retire on my 10 acres. Well, I was in the process of doing that. It was the summertime, and I've been working and saving money going on the property. I started clearing the land. My parents offered to finance a house here in town because the market was down, and I mean really down. It's probably cheapest. I think the house was only, we paid $30,000 for it, and it's worth over $208 now. But they were like, if you want to find a house, we'll finance it for you. You can buy it. So we went ahead and financed the home, and then yeah. After I got injured, I ended up being able to come back here and have a home that's paid for and taken care of. So it's been nice not having to worry about that one thing. Really nice. Unfortunately, there's a lot of other things and family issues I got to worry about, but we'll get into that at a different time, and we will get into that. We are in lane number 1, and like I said, we're going to cut the pace, so we didn't pick it up for the last 2 laps, but we're going to pick it up for this one. If you're walking with me, awesome. I like to not be alone on a walk. We have hit the stride here. Dang it, getting a little dizzy here. But we're going to try and just push through it. These stupid things don't last that long usually. Usually only a couple seconds to a few minutes, so. Sorry, guys. It's interesting. It's like some of my oxygen crashes. You know that feeling you get when you stand up too fast and you get lightheaded? That is exactly what it feels like. And you just get used to it. Man, it used to freak me out because it happened so many times a day. It would happen like over the last couple of years. It's terrible. It was way more than it is now. I've actually improved, especially since having oxygen during the day that I have now, the oxygen support I have, which is yay awesome. But yeah, standing up, just be dizzy. And just imagine the kind of loop that would throw you for. Like your life is fine, and then all of a sudden just the trivial things you do every day you don't even consider, like standing up or going for a walk or working. All of a sudden you're dizzy and nauseous and you're getting headaches and things like that, gasping for air. You really just don't walk because all the doctors are trying to tell you you're fine because they're all bought and paid for. Yeah. And the system is broken, guys. It's unfortunate. You know, there's supposed to be, and there's supposed to be a code that these doctors live by. I even mentioned that to my occupational doctor. I was like, isn't there like a code that you're supposed to live by and that you do no harm? And the doctor told me it was more of a suggestion. That's right, my occupational doctor for L&I that I was seeing told me that their code of conduct that doctors have to legally work by is more of a suggestion to do no harm. She told me that. She sucks. She's terrible. We'll be playing the recordings I have too, because we are going to be outing her. Doctors like that should not be able to work in the medical field. Not. And the fact that I have recordings of her visits with permission because she allowed me to record the conversation because my memory was so bad. Yeah, I'm not going to be asking permission to blow her out of the water, or any other doctor's recordings that I have where they're breaking the law, and especially breaking that code of do no harm. And unfortunately, a lot of the doctors that I was seeing during my visits, a lot of them just straight up admitted it's terrible, right? They just don't care, you know? All the doctors have to do is make you look crazy, and then whatever you say doesn't make a difference. Or even if you are crazy, like I was, and then all they've got to do is lie and say, no, I never said that. Who do you think people are going to believe, right? The doctor or the crazy person fighting an L&I claim? Well, I would absolutely say the doctor, but when you have recordings of these doctors admitting that they can't put this information in your claim, even if it's right there in front of them and the proof is there and the tests are there, because they would lose business or lose their ability to have any more clientele related to L&I, that's just wrong. Bunch of dirtbags. And like I said, they don't deserve to have their license, so we're definitely going after them. We're just biding our time here and getting everything lined up and the ducks in a row. Because, dude, what do you think? What do you guys think? If there's a doctor out there breaking the law, right, doing harm to their patients on purpose, and I'm not the only one. This doctor, she is really well known apparently among, there's like 3 clients I know that actually went to this doctor, this occupational doctor in Walla Walla, and, sorry, not Walla Walla, but Walla Walla area, and, yeah, they went and saw this person, and they all said the same thing. That she is just one for the system. Doesn't give a crap about the patients. She's just a sellout. Doesn't give a crap about any of the patients. It's all about L&I and will always be about L&I. And I thought, being the naive person I am, that being honest actually injured the women today, right? I thought that the truth would win out. I was naive, you know, after experiencing the system that I've experienced, the broken, decrepit labor and industry system. I'm telling you, I don't feel like that anymore. I do not. But anyway, so I ended up running into a few people. My wife actually knew a few people that had been injured. One who had a shoulder injury and was seeing this doctor. And even though he had a shoulder injury and couldn't lift his arm, she was trying to sign to go back to work. So he ends up leaving her, going to a different doctor. I mean, he had, instead of going 15 minutes up the road, he had to travel 50 miles to Kennewick to go see a different doctor who put him on complete disability because he can't use his arm at all. Yeah, so that's the kind of doctor she is. Um, but we do have plans. Personally, I think she should just retire, leave the industry. We don't need people like that. First off, we don't need people in the healthcare industry that are like that. And then some of the attorneys are like that as well. I found out some of them are all about making that deal behind your back in private. And we all know what happens. If you've had any dealings with the attorney or the legal system, you know that these behind the scenes deals happen where they trade one client for a different client. They'll be like, oh, we're going to give you this one, but we're not going to give you that one. And it's total BS. You know, when you hire an attorney or you have a doctor, you expect them to do their job on your behalf. And it's just not what it is. I mean, what kind of a system, and tell me this too, if you've ever dealt with a labor industry, what kind of a system says whoever can pay for the most doctors wins? Because that's what it is. That's one thing they kept telling me I had to do is, well, we've got to go get a doctor and we've got to pay for a better doctor because that doctor has more experience. Even if they only see you one time, that doctor has more experience and they can write something on a piece of paper, or they just simply pay a doctor to write some stuff up on a piece of paper on behalf of your claim or against your claim. Isn't that ridiculous? Anyways, I am all about that right now. I know we're supposed to be talking about, you know, how this has improved my life, and it has improved my life. Listen to me, I'm talking my head off, right? I've got wind to actually talk and go for a walk and chat with you guys. And I'm grateful for everybody that likes, follows, and subscribes. And I'm griping it up over here. But just know I'm grateful for every step I get to take because I didn't think I was going to make it. And, you know, there were days. I'm not going to get into the details, but there were definitely days where, unfortunately, self-harm was in the picture, or the thought of it. You know, when you don't know what's going on and you feel hopeless, and that's what they did, was push that hopelessness to the edge on me, put me in a position where that's just what it was. You want to throw in the towel. You know, I'm looking at my life going, damn, I'm never going to be able to work again. You know, I'm not going to be able to have any income. I'm going to be a burden on my wife, a burden on my family, a burden on society. When you're living your whole life working your butt off, you know, trying to build a life, that is a far cry from what you set your mind to. Anyway, so that's where I'm at today, guys. It's Friday. I'm pretty excited about that. I won't be on tomorrow. I'll be back Monday. I think we got about another 5 minutes to go until we're back in the house. I think it is the garage sale weekend, so we'll probably get some good clips of garage sales and doing some yard sale shopping. I love yard sale shopping. I've got so much junk in my backyard, but it's all fun junk I can build with. You know, I seldomly buy new stuff to build when I do build. And if you're interested in building and you're just watching this, go check out some of my short videos. I don't have a lot of long videos, but I've got over 150 short videos. And you can see some of the really cool things I built, like the mini chopper build, the off-road John Deere. I built a custom hoist for sheathing roofs. So actually, not a machine, but a tool that mounts to the top of the house, and then it's got pulleys on it so you can pull up the sheeting on the roof. Custom choppers, a bunch of custom knives, custom sword, and a bunch of other stuff like that, guys. So if you're interested in do-it-yourself projects, gardening, homemade things, prepper stuff, got a lot of prepper stuff on there because if anybody knows me, they know I'm a bit of a prepper, stockpile hoarder, sort of, but all cool stuff. Especially with the way the world's going. Who knows, right? I mean, it seems like some days we're one bad decision at the top of it from being in a world war or something like that, which I hope that's not the situation. You know, that would be demonetized. Oh wait, I'm not monetized for talking about that stuff. But we are here, guys. We're at the home front. Oh, and just for y'all out there, boom! Check that bad boy out, the off-road John Deere Beast. That's right. Yep, I broke a belt on her, so she's stuck in the front yard for a little bit. And I could just go buy a belt, but I have a plan to make her go faster, and it requires 2 belts and a pulley system. Hey everybody, thanks for joining me. We're back at the house, been on the walk. I'm gonna go show you all the new weight setup real quick, and then we're gonna get out of here for the day. I hope everybody is enjoying their week, made it through the week. I hope you're enjoying your weekend. Never traveled out of state, check your engine light is on, buddy. Oh, I like that. God bless you, brother. You guys are great. Everybody, I'm in Richmond. Hey, there you go. You guys are great. Everybody that tuned in today, thank you so much. I wish massively huge blessings upon all of you, but let's go check out the new weight setup. All right, you can all see my super junkyardy weight setup that I'm going to be using. Once again, we're doing the best we can. We're not rich. We're not even well off. We're just getting by. But this is it right here, guys and girls. Check it out. Ba-doom. My junkyard paradise. That's right. So we're going to be hitting that thing in a few minutes here. If you guys want to see videos on working out or work out with me, and I mean like, hey, while I'm working out, maybe you grab your machines and hop on, we work out together. If you got some great ideas for workouts, I am an open book, y'all. And I mean it. I am doing the best I can to get back in some sort of shape so I can live a little bit longer. And that is the goal. That is it. And let me tell you one little story here. So we have a friend of ours that passed away recently. My wife worked in home health care. And when she worked in home health care, because I wasn't working, I would go with her and she would work with them. And I'd just hang out with them because, you know, I was disabled and these guys are disabled. Most of them were a little bit older than me. And we would just talk fishing and we would talk shop. It would be cool. I'd go hang out with them. They'd get to talk to somebody because they're usually stuck in their house disabled. Well, she had a client, my wife had a client that was missing both of his legs below the knees. And I kept trying to get him to just, you know, pop up, you know, get up on the walker, get in the wheelchair, get out there. But he didn't want to do it. He'd kind of given up, you know. He had lost his girlfriend that he loved more than anything, lost his legs. Kids didn't want to talk to him. Doing the whole drug thing back and forth. And I was just trying to be the most positive influence I could, even with my situation seeming so freaking hopeless. But that's me, always, you know, optimist and always the optimist. But man, the saddest thing is this guy finally gets out of the hospital. My wife isn't taking care of him. She went on to work corporate and be a manager of home health care people. But she was going to take him back on. He finally got up the courage to start using his bionic legs. So he was going to start walking. He was going to get up. He was going to get out there, and he was going to walk around something. And we were getting ready to go visit him. We had planned out to go see him in a couple days. And he passed away. No joke. Just like that. So you never know how long you have. It's sometimes waiting is just waiting too long. You know, he waited so long to get up and start taking care. And I know this because I was there. Oh, I couldn't do anything and I kept putting it off. And then, you know, for me, I saw that happen and it was like, I'm not going to be that. I'm not going to let that happen to me. I'm not going to let my health go for so long under any circumstance, even if I'm fighting chronic hypoxia, heart failure, COPD, asthma, depression, you know, minor psychosis occasionally from PTSD. I'm not going to let this destroy my life. There's no way. I've got a beautiful wife. I got a beautiful life. So if you're in the same situation, don't wait too long. You may be like our buddy and wait till that last day and then boom. Anyways, this is Driftwood. Thanks for tuning in. It's Friday. Have a great weekend, everybody. Don't forget to like and subscribe on the side. We'll see you Monday at 11. Bye.